What's good? It's Woog. That was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in a boxing ring. When I first thought about even saying that, I was wondering to myself, like, am I exaggerating a bit? Am I just blurting out some hyperbole? But then I thought about it and no. When was the last time you can recall being this blown away and in this level of disbelief at what you were witnessing, not in any just one particular moment, because sometimes there could be a moment like a stunning knockout, think Marquez Pacquiao. But when is the last time round over round you were just trying to process, how is this taking place? How is this playing out in the way that I'm seeing it right now? This was pretty unbelievable. Tyson Fury beat Francis Ngannou via split decision. One judge had it 96-93 Fury. One judge had it 95-94 Ngannou. And the third judge had it 95-94 for Tyson Fury. And boy, Team Fury was pretty on edge before they read that third scorecard, right? Like they got a little bit tight, especially because that 95-94 was the same total that the first judge scorecard had been read in favor of Ngannou. So Ngannou won one of the cards, 95-94. So I thought maybe when they read that third scorecard, 95-94, that would have given Ngannou the split decision win. But it did, in fact, give Tyson Fury the split decision win. But who picked this fight to play out as a competitive decision? Because I'm assuming that anybody who thought that the unthinkable would happen, that Francis Ngannou would win, probably had him shockingly knock out Tyson Fury. But to win multiple rounds outside of the third round where Ngannou dropped Tyson Fury, where Fury got knocked down and he's kind of resting on his elbows like we've seen him do in the past and just kind of looking up and looking out. And even when he got up, he had this look on his face like he didn't quite have this figured out. And I thought that at some point he was going to take total control of the fight. And not only was he going to take control of the fight, but that Francis Ngannou would then absolutely melt in the later rounds. But I just kept coming back to thinking about how incredible Francis Ngannou's level of poise was throughout this fight. Like, he didn't look like a total fish out of water. He didn't look like he was lost in center field and like he couldn't manage range and he was just confused by the angles. I didn't see any of that. I saw Francis Ngannou keeping a pretty creative construct, which I thought was going to backfire dramatically. Him kind of leaving his jab hand out, kind of doing some hand games with both gloves. I thought Tyson Fury was just going to line him up with that right hand and boom, just drill him with that straight right. And he did connect with a good share of straight rights, but Francis Ngannou exhibited an amazing chin, 10-round cardio. Like, this was supposed to be all wrong for Francis Ngannou. Not only is your debut boxing fight not a 4-rounder, 6-rounder, 8-rounder, it's a 10-rounder, and it's against Tyson Fury, who's got tons of 12-round experience against several world-class fighters. And not to mention that this is on an unbelievably huge stage out in Saudi Arabia, a huge mega event, extraordinarily expensive event. And almost everybody thought that, oh yeah, this is just a cash out. Thank you. They just robbed the bank and it doesn't matter what happens in the fight. Even if Francis Ngannou doesn't, perform well at all, which most people thought that this was going to be all Fury. It didn't matter because he just got paid boatloads of cash to get knocked out at the hands of the Gypsy King. That was the narrative. Regardless of how people will spin the narrative going forward, never forget what the public sentiment was going into the fight. And Francis Ngannou stood no chance against Tyson Fury. So, 10-rounder against the Gypsy King, world stage. I didn't see Francis Ngannou panic once in that ring. I thought that, look, once he started getting peppered with jabs and he found that he lacked the ability to hit Tyson Fury reliably with anything, yet Tyson Fury would be able to land at will, more or less, that Francis Ngannou would start, panicking, that he would start making terrible decisions, making big anti-boxing mistakes that he would try to like reach out and grab Tyson Fury and clinch. And Tyson Fury even said in the lead up to the fight, he's going to get boom, boom. He's going to get popped. He's going to reach to try to hold me, to try to clinch. Boom, uppercut. Good night. Tyson Fury was expecting all of these openings that the vastly inexperienced Francis Ngannou was supposed to give him. But I didn't see Francis Ngannou look like he was in over his head in this whole fight. Like, I'm still trying to wrap my head around what I just witnessed. This was a competitive fight, round over round over round. Even after Francis Ngannou knocked Fury down in the third round, I had Fury winning the fourth, fifth, sixth. I had the seventh round very close, but I thought maybe edge it to Fury. And this is after splitting the first round. So 1 round to Fury, 1 round to Ngannou after 2. Ngannou drops Fury in the third, 10-8 round. Fourth round again, Fury. Fifth, Fury. Sixth, Fury. Seventh, could have gone either way. Lean Fury. Eighth, I gave it to Francis. I thought Tyson Fury won the 9th round, and I had Francis Ngannou winning the 10th round. So even after the knockdown in the third round, and you saw the betting odds switch from Ngannou coming into the fight as like a 8-1 underdog to the line adjusting with, the live betting odds, all of a sudden, after that knockdown, Ngannou's like a plus 250. So now he's graduated to a 2.5-1 underdog, closing the gap dramatically. I thought that's when you bet on Tyson Fury. That's when the betting opportunists are supposed to then cash in and put your money on Fury. Now that the market has overcorrected because of that knockdown, which was a nice check hook, which we'll get to. There were a lot of unexpected punches that Ngannou was throwing. Nice, perfectly timed left check hook, which Tyson Fury was very cognizant of and very worried about. You saw how that reduced Tyson Fury's volume throughout the fight. But I thought that even as I saw the live betting odds adjust, you're supposed to jump on that because now the market is saying, oh, no, Francis has a really good chance. He just dropped Tyson Fury. But then I'm thinking, well, Francis by this point has already thrown a lot of punches. He knocked Tyson Fury down in the third. For sure, he's going to run out of gas and collapse in the middle to late rounds. This is where Tyson Fury's class is going to absolutely take over. And that's when you see Ngannou fall apart. It didn't happen. It did not happen. Even the rounds that Fury won were competitive and close rounds where it's like, damn, like even the rounds that Fury was winning, you never felt good about Fury's overall performance. Like, was this the best version of Tyson Fury? No. Whether he was undertrained or is over the hill, this wasn't Tyson Fury's best, but regardless, we didn't expect to see the best of Tyson Fury tonight, but it wasn't supposed to matter because he was fighting Francis Ngannou. And look, I was shocked even early in the fight. It didn't even take for the knockdown for me to be totally impressed and amazed by how much Ngannou was exceeding expectations. Like, as soon as he started throwing that overhand right and getting close, like where he was kind of touching Fury with the end of his punch. So not getting the sweet spot of the punch and connecting super flush with Fury, but the overhand right was getting there to where you then saw Fury do a lot of this and give a lot of nervous energy, start moving around the ring and looking like Francis Ngannou was giving him a lot to think about. And Fury usually has like the physical edge over his opponent. Not in this case. So while we weren't dealing with the best of Tyson Fury, we did see Fury employ a lot of the things that have worked for him against other opponents. When he puts his weight on his opponent, starts leaning on him, grabbing him, walking him back to the ropes, maneuvering them around. That wasn't the case in terms of Fury having success there against Ngannou. No, Ngannou wasn't looking for the wrestling, the roughhousing, and the clinching, but he wasn't having it either. He more than stood his ground from a physical standpoint, even to where you saw him kind of violently jostle Fury's like shoulder and arm area, kind of like, get off me. But in the early rounds, you saw that when Fury would clinch after Ngannou would let his hands go a little bit, kind of half connect with that looping right hand, and Fury would move around kind of awkwardly, do a little bit of the feinting and flinching that he was doing against Vladimir Klitschko when Fury first captured those belts before his long layoff. Fury was starting to do a lot of that stuff, but Ngannou wasn't biting a ton on the feints. Fury wasn't able to draw the reactions out of Ngannou that he wanted to draw to then land his absolute best stuff. I was totally impressed with how composed and within his construct Ngannou remained. And so then when you saw Fury start to clinch, you even saw Ngannou start hitting Fury to the body and start ripping like uppercuts up the middle mid-clinch. He was giving Fury so much to think about. And yes, Fury's jab did kind of win the day in those rounds like 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, he did start to win the rounds. I would say edge the rounds with the jab. But boy, it was in its holster a lot more than it usually is. You saw Fury start to punch less and less and start thinking more and more and more. Fury never looked like he really got comfortable in there. So he kept his hands at home. There were stretches of like 30 seconds, 40 seconds where it seemed like Fury hardly threw a punch in that frame. He had to think about the check left hook. He had to think about the overhand right, everything that would be coming back at him. Even Francis Ngannou's jab in those last few rounds. You saw Ngannou start to get the jab going against Fury. He would even start doubling up with the jab. Sometimes just a double jab. Sometimes the double jab followed by the right hand. And every now and then, you would even see Ngannou position a right hand to Tyson Fury's chest area. I'm like, yo, this is some high level stuff. I mean, look, yo, tell me if I'm wrong. Let me know if you saw this coming, because I didn't see this coming. What do you make of what you just saw between Fury and Ngannou? Like, how do you explain how quickly in his debut, Ngannou was able to show 10-round cardio? Even, yeah, his mouth was open in the middle rounds. He was clearly tired, but he wasn't collapsing. His defense wasn't falling apart. Yes, he did eat a few jabs flush. Yes, Fury was able to land, the variants of types of right hands that he throws. He'll throw that straight as a pipe, boom, point A to point B, boom, it's straight as an arrow. Right hand, he'll also throw like a short chopping right hand. That was the one where at one point, like he missed and he hit Ngannou with the elbow. So he'll throw that chopping right hand and he'll try to catch you coming in, like boom. So it's kind of as he's backing up, he'll throw that chopping right hand. What I didn't see, and my cousin mentioned this to me after the fight, he's like, did you notice that you didn't see Fury like clubbing, throwing that kind of straight arm, barely even bending at the elbow, almost like he's slamming a door, kind of that wide looping right hand or left hand? Didn't see much of that from Tyson Fury, but you did see other tactics. You would see him try to rip uppercuts, like he would rip uppercuts mid-range, but Ngannou, again, defensively, I think blew us away in terms of how reluctant he made Fury from releasing his hands like he normally does. Like my cousin also pointed out, he's like, hey, yo, keeping it real, Wood, I thought Ngannou's skill level looked better than Deontay Wilder's. And I like, for a second, I paused. I'm like, yo, I really can't argue with that. From a sweet science standpoint, like Wilder to me is a little more feast or famine, where you're either dropping the guy in the round or there's a good chance you're losing that round. Wilder looks like minute for minute, if he's not deploying the right hand, that he can't make as many things work in his advantage as Francis Ngannou did in this fight. Ngannou had multiple ways that he was throwing deception, timing, trickery, angles, and he even keeps his head off the center line. Ngannou's head isn't here, robotic right here. Ngannou like either is kind of leaning like this way, leaning this way, or if he's in a southpaw stance, which he switched to southpaw and spent big chunks of this fight in southpaw. Even then, even when his hands are out, he would kind of lean this way, lean a little off this way. So he wasn't just a sitting duck, a sitting target. So yeah, Fury was thinking a lot about, when is it safe for me to let this punch go? Take a chance with the right hand. He did not have carte blanche to release his punches. And again, like, not enough could be said about how much Ngannou exceeded expectations, blew them out of the water. And, a few people have asked me since this fight, yo, do you want to see Ngannou in another boxing fight? I'm like, how can I say anything other than absolutely? I want to see Francis Ngannou fight anybody. And not even to say that he has this same level of success. I mean, who knows? He could fight Fabio Wardley next and get leaned and knocked out? Who the hell knows? All I know is this 10 rounds that I saw of him versus Tyson Fury, again, tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you called this. I don't know anybody who called it like this. Whether you're talking about like the Paulie Malignaggi's, you know who did actually give credence to Ngannou's chances of winning and said, I wouldn't underestimate him. Teddy Atlas. Teddy Atlas said, I worked with him, for a couple days. And I truly think that he's got an extraordinary, athletic ability, explosiveness, ring coverage, all these different things, but also his adaptability, like his ability to learn very quickly, his ability to learn different skills and different techniques, boom, like that. And you saw his evolution as an MMA fighter. It's just unfathomable that he was able to transition some of those stand-up attributes in a boxing ring without the other components. Look, when I last saw Francis Ngannou in the cage, his final MMA fight, at least to date, he had to resort to wrestling to retain his heavyweight title against Cyril Gane. And he had a bad knee, and he's 37 years old, and he's going to return to fight not in a cage, but in a ring against Tyson Fury and fight a fight where going into the scorecards, we don't know who won the fight. Again, I had Fury edge in the fight, but again, Fury got dropped in the third round and he got hurt multiple times in other rounds. He got hurt in the 8th round to where he starts moving around weirdly and then starts backing up kind of in an awkward way. Like, this is not what I expected. And what this means for Fury versus Usyk, if that is in fact the next fight, I don't know if you could take away a ton from this fight and then apply it to Fury versus Usyk because the matchups are so different. Usyk simply doesn't have the size and strength, the physicality of Francis Ngannou. That made a big, big difference. Tyson Fury wasn't used to this type of wrestle you back. I'm not going to get pushed into the ropes. No, you don't. I'm going to stand my ground. We ain't playing that. Like, Tyson Fury isn't used to that. For all the punching power in the world that Deontay Wilder has, that absolute bomb of a right hand, he only weighs like 220 something pounds or low 230s in the second and third fight of Fury and Wilder's trilogy. Francis Ngannou is like 260 something, 270 pounds. So Fury wasn't able to just have his way physically. So Usyk, it's a whole different type of pressure that Usyk applies. Usyk more so just hovers around you. His pressure is, I'm always really close, not physically close, but I'm always in range. And at any moment I can hit you with 1 or 2 strange shots. Like, remember when Manny Pacquiao was in the midst of his super long prime of his career, you got the sense that at any moment, Pacquiao could just let go 5 to 7 to 9 punches at any moment. At any moment, his legs were always in position to hop right back in and throw a few punches. Usyk is more so hovering like a wasp or a drone, but he's always probing, pop, left hand, jab. You know what I mean? He's always like within near puncher's range. So it's a mental pressure that he's putting on his opponent. It's a different thing than what Francis Ngannou's applying. But I was impressed by Ngannou's patience. The fact that when he, got hit, that he didn't just like shell up and start backing up into the ropes or instinctively just start throwing a couple wild punches. Like, if you look at Ngannou's fight against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, it was a first round knockout, but you saw how wide and reckless Ngannou's punches were leading, at the moment of the knockout. He threw like a 4 to 5 punch winging wild punch combination at Rozenstruik, dropped him with the second, third, and fourth, fifth, and sixth punches of that, finished the fight quickly. But you saw that, you're like, oh, that's gonna get you knocked out in a boxing ring, straight up. You didn't see any of that lack of discipline here against Tyson Fury. It was amazing. It was amazing how well Francis Ngannou performed here. This was unbelievable. This was a historic event, historic night. He gave the boxing world, I feel humbled. Like, I feel like everybody, unless you said that there was a high likelihood of something like this happening, we should all just take a pause and just applause straight up. You know what I mean? Like, we were not expecting this level of performance. And again, it wasn't like a momentary thing where Francis Ngannou just sucks. He sucks. He's not good. He's like looking terrible in there, looking unorthodox, looking like this is his first time in a ring and he happens to be fighting the Gypsy King. He looks like that. It wasn't that. And then he lands like a big bomb and drops Fury, and that was like Francis's moment. No, these were competitive rounds. How do you explain that? Because I still don't quite know. I know that his patience has something to do with it. The fact that Fury might have expected him to keep on coming in with multiple punches at a time to open the door for Fury to hit Ngannou with counters coming in. Maybe Francis Ngannou's patience made Fury, but then you would think that Fury should then be able to take over the fight with a jab. And again, he had an effective jab in the second half of the fight especially, but he wasn't able to dominate and really seize control of the fight. Ngannou was always in this fight, and I just don't know how to reckon with that. I don't know how to reckon with that. This was a great fight. Straight up. This was a great fight. Yes, it was a crossover fight. Yes, I know, I issued out a poll. How many of y'all are either excited or at least curious about the fight? More than 60% said no. And you look, I didn't think this was going to be a competitive fight. I thought there might be an interesting moment or two, or it might be interesting to see how quickly it takes, whether it takes 1 round or 2 rounds for Fury to more or less figure out the lay of the land, as online boxing analyst Richard Dwyer likes to say. And then from that point on, it's all Tyson Fury. 3rd round on, 4th round on, whatever. I thought that was what was going to play out. And like online boxing analyst Richard Dwyer also says, I didn't think that the fight was going to start until Ngannou figured out how to get past Tyson Fury's jab. But Ngannou, again, did not just stand there just getting rocketed by jabs and look dumbfounded. Because if he started getting blinded and, distracted and hit and hurt and bloodied up by the jab, Tyson Fury could have just come behind that with that drill of a right hand and closed the show. But it was Tyson Fury who had the cut/scratch on his forehead. It was Tyson Fury who had some blood coming from the mouth. Fury had some blood coming from the nose. If you look at the puffiness of Fury's eye as the fight concluded and Fury walking back and celebrating, waving his hands, and Fury must have been scared. He must have been embarrassed. He must have been confused. He was not having a good night. But you look at Fury's face, you could see that he had been in a fight. And again, it was just facial damage aside, we did not know who was going to get the love on the scorecards in this one, because it was truly, genuinely a competitive fight. Somebody square that with me, explain what we just witnessed, because this was not supposed to happen. This was not supposed to happen like this. And you see Usyk sitting in the crowd, and you can just imagine what's going through his head. I mean, he's always a sport, and he's always he always seems like a pretty pleasant individual, but you just see him and you just wonder, I wonder what his stress level is like right now, seeing what's happening to the Gypsy King at the hands of Francis Ngannou. And when Ngannou hit him with that check hook in the 3rd round, you saw that hit him upside the head. And sometimes you see in mixed martial arts, I don't think Tyson Fury has a chin issue, because when you get hit upside the head, it's different than the chin. And upside the head, you see head kicks in the UFC where it looks like it didn't even land flush, but it kind of grazes upside, just kind of buzzes you. But then you see the person's balance totally shot for the remainder of the fight. Sometimes they get stopped immediately after getting wobbled and imbalanced because of a shot upside the head. Well, Francis Ngannou, after Fury landed a nice right hand, as my dad pointed out, reminded me of just after the fight, that it was a Fury shot that had landed just before Ngannou hit him with that counter left hook, that check left hook, if you will, upside Fury's head. Legitimate knockdown. I mean, was that not one of the most shocking moments of recent boxing history that you could recall? I was just sitting there on the edge of my seat oh my God. And then you wonder, okay, is now going to be the time when Fury really makes Ngannou pay for it? But Ngannou showed a resilient chin, because he did get hit. He did get hit a good amount by Tyson Fury with a variety of punches, with both hands. And he did not panic, not once. And if you didn't know any better, you wouldn't know just off the top looking at these guys for 30 seconds that one guy's the world heavyweight champ and it's this other guy's first time boxing. You wouldn't have gotten that by looking at this. Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah. I felt pretty humbled watching this event. Hats off to Francis Ngannou for just defying the odds. Look, if after that knockdown of Tyson Fury, if Ngannou would have gotten knocked out with the very next punch, he already won the night. He already won the night with that knockdown and with the competitiveness in the 1st and 2nd round. He had already won the night, exceeded expectations, but no, he took it several steps further, winning multiple more rounds before the end of the fight and having this one go into the judges' scorecards where, again, Tyson Fury wins a split decision. over Francis Ngannou? Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments. Do you think it means anything for Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk? Because I'm not sure. I think that Francis Ngannou he's a unique case right now, and I don't know what he does after this, whether he fights in the PFL or if he takes on another boxing. Why would you not do another boxing fight at this point? Like, would you not want to see, I mean, just if nothing else, fascination. Deontay Wilder versus Francis Ngannou, Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. Like, yeah, I would still favor Anthony Joshua, but I wouldn't mind seeing that, especially after something like this. So again, Fury, whether he was undertrained or is over the hill, he had a hell of a time with Francis Ngannou. But yeah, let me know what you think. And please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.